Hey, you guys think you know which way it's going to go?
Yeah.
Well, you should head on and over to Sports Interaction, whatever sport. Sports Interaction has you covered pregame, live and betting, and all major sports. And, of course, your prop bets. If you want to bet, where do you go, guys?
Sports Interaction.
Sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. Come on. 19 plus, please play responsibly.
I want to ask what's going on with the Calgary Flames.
What's going on?
They lost in overtime last night to the St. Louis Blues.
How dare they?
Who are not great. And, who Elliot Friedman has been speculating that the Blues are going to fire several people out the door. They may be the big team to trade with. And this might be a good retool year for them.
Mm-hmm. Wild card battle in both conferences is fascinating.
Sure is. So I want to stay in the West for now, but I definitely want to talk about the East. I'm trying to figure out why the Flames, who were so good last year. I know that Gaudreau and Tkachuk are gone, and I know they're both having they're having good years on bad teams.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got really good replacements. You've got, arguably, you should be a little bit better. Kadri, Huberdeau, and Weegar.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is happening here? It seems like it's not the talent. It cannot be the talent. The talent is there. What happened? What's going on?
Well, you know how they say the best kind of trade is one where both teams get better, right? Like there's the most notable ones are winners and losers, but when both teams get better, that's how you know it's a good trade. Both teams got worse. Florida won the President's Trophy last year.
Right.
They're not as good. They're potentially giving up the first overall pick. They're not better. Calgary is in the same boat, but Calgary has a far more realistic chance of making the playoffs, which is wild. Because again, considering, can't emphasize this enough, Florida won the President's Trophy last year.
Right.
So what's going on with Calgary? Well, Darryl Sutter is losing the room at a breakneck pace, as Audie pointed out, talking about the Flames' lack of, lack of elite talent, or lack of dominant talent. You just signed Jonathan Huberdeau to $10 million. So I think the guy who set the record for most points in a season by a left winger might be elite. He might not be elite for you.
Or the system you want to play.
Assists, sorry.
Yeah. For the system he wants to play, yeah.
Yeah, and might I suggest that if you get a guy like that and he's not working out for you, it might be a little your fault. Might have something to do with it. I think he was coming back from an injury. Do you have Darryl Sutter's quote, Jesse? Because what I'm going to say next has everything to do with it.
The lack of preparation one?
Read it. Maybe that's it. I don't think it is. But
no, I don't think that.
He didn't have a good press conference the other day. Or it might have been last night.
Yeah.
Well, Jonathan scored right away, so I made it 3-2, but, you're still... It's hard to score 4 goals in 9 hockey games.
As this game goes along, I mean, are you happy with the way the third period goes? I mean, I'm fine with it, but...
Yeah, you know what? We got to take the point, right? We didn't skate yesterday because the Harlem Globetrotters were playing in our building. We had to travel, and we couldn't skate this morning because 6 o'clock game. We better be thankful that we got a point, considering that a lot of our young players didn't show up. Lack of preparation, right? Got taken by the hand, some of these guys.
Is that just a learning curve?
They've been in the league for 1 to 6 years, some of them, so is that just a lack of preparation?
Was the change made to spark the team, or was it...
No.
You never hear that. A goaltender being called out directly by the coach. You rarely...
I think the goaltender is the player most likely to be called out.
Can I just make a blanket declaration about Darryl Sutter and the Calgary Flames? Time to move on.
This guy was in Jack
Did I
Adams.
not say that?
Jack Adams' contention last year, right?
Yeah.
That's such a change.
It's not last year anymore, and there's a thing in the NHL where you fire head coach, and all of a sudden the players are a little happier. It seems like you have a great collection of talent. Nobody is denying that the roster is a talented roster of hockey players, and the coach isn't getting what he needs out of them. It's probably time to get somebody new in that locker room.
And there's a lot of reading between the lines with Darryl Sutter. I don't want to extrapolate to the point of accusation, but he's talking about the young players and a lack of preparation, and we didn't skate yesterday.
They can't get prepared.
What are you really saying, Darryl?
Yeah.
Was where'd they go? Where'd they go? Was there a dinner? Was there an after dinner? Is that what you're suggesting, Darryl? Like that's what I got the impression of. I don't know.
Well, I have a hard time believing that a bunch of guys in their early 20s missing one 60-minute skate makes a difference.
Yeah, like
it doesn't.
The Harlem Globetrotters were in the building. You couldn't skate.
You can't find any rink in Calgary? There's no rinks in Calgary. There's no ice in Calgary. In January, there's no ice. You guys can't find a rink. If it's that big of a deal, Darryl, book another sheet.
Well, he's
I don't know if the rules allow
he's
that.
upset by there's a we really do have to find that quote. I'll try to find it, but he's obviously upset to an extent with the roster construction. He's upset to an extent with the commitment to hockey from the players on his hockey team. And the thing I do, gotta give him, their goaltender outplayed our goaltender. You've been able to say that most nights with the Calgary Flames, which by dollars and cents, you shouldn't ever be saying.
Markstrom's having a Bobrovsky streak where it's like bad season, good season, bad season.
Whoa, I didn't know he was this bad.
You want your dominant players quote?
Yes, okay. This is a big one.
Steve requested this, just like he requested to talk about his tattoo.
Yeah. Here, fast forward to the part where Darryl Sutter talks about my tattoo.
30 shots and then the lack of success when you're over 40 shots. What does that mean?
Well, it means shooting percentages. You know what? If you just do it, there's always guys that have high shooting percentages and they have big years. Then the next year it goes back to normal where it's in that 12 to into there, right? So when you see guys that have a career year and then they go break back down, well, you look at their shooting percentages. So
he really missed his calling as a funeral director.
Volume of shots is really important. You don't have, it's the same old, you can use all that from a team standpoint and an individual standpoint all you want. When you don't have dominant players, then you have to take lots of shots. You want to just do it if you take just any history in it, and I've been through it lots where you say, well, you're a shot volume team. Well, you're a shot volume team if you don't have a lot of star goal scoring players, right? So if you take, for example, the Calgary Flames last year, the three players that led the team in scoring, you look at their volume of shots and their quality of shots, right? They scored 40 goals. So there's players that scored 30 or 35, whatever it was. Well, they had a high shooting percentage. That's why they scored 35. Doesn't matter how many shots they took. Most of your high quality shots come from meet of the light. Right there. It's either on a breakaway, an odd man rush, or a rebound. So if that player's getting that shot, it doesn't matter how many you got. When you could score 3 on 20, if one was a breakaway, one was an odd man rush, and one was just me and the goalie. Right? Really, when they call high danger shots, that's just what a high danger shot is. Basically, it's the player and the goalie. When you look at it, it's not through a team.
Okay, so he's not saying that they don't have the talent for that.
Yeah, no, he directly did.
That's very much what he said.
I think he said that when you don't have dominant players, and what I mean by that is what I think probably what he meant, and it didn't come across that way, is we don't have players playing like the dominant players that they could be.
That we had last year.
I think
the three guys he mentioned last year aren't on the, or two of them aren't on the team anymore.
He mentioned the 40 goal scorers, right?
He literally calls out management there, I think, in a subtle way, in a backhanded way, and says, we don't have the talent that we had last year because you got rid of the guys and you couldn't re-sign them and you brought in these new guys that I don't like, who don't have the high shooting percentage, who can't put up the 40 goals. What the fuck is going on, management?
Yeah.
That's Darryl Sutter's way of saying that in not so many words.
If I'm Brad,
that's what I took.
If Brad Treliving was an emotional guy, you're fired. You're fired.
Oh
today. You're fired today.
Fuck,
you know what? To be honest with you, though, from what I have heard, from several people, the situation in Calgary as far as management goes is a little bit messed up because Treliving was on his last bullet after his last lifeline after Bill Peters.
Oh, we were talking about him like he was totally out the door.
And the one thing that sort of saved him is that Sutter came in at the end of that 1 year, and the team looked a little better, and then they looked great. And obviously now they stink. And they're still in the wild card, but they just let the St. Louis Blues, who are 2 points out of the wild card, or who were 4 points out last night, move within 2 points of them in Edmonton. Same amount of games played, and apparently the owner is the big Sutter fan. If Treliving had his choice, Sutter would not have been. It's Murray Edwards. So that's the rumor is that Murray Edwards is the Sutter guy, Treliving is not, and it's a question of which one of them survives this. Is it Treliving or Sutter that survives this? Because at the end of the season, if they're a wild card team, they could potentially both survive it. But I could see a situation where if the Flames don't make it, somebody's going.
The NHL
or
is
both.
Full of billionaire owners who I can't understand how they ever got successful.
I think I can understand it, because imagine this, okay? Imagine you're a control freak billionaire. You don't get to be a billionaire in most cases. Like if you didn't come from old money, like if you didn't have it passed down to you, you make all this money in business because you were super successful at something and you were probably super lucky. And then it's like, okay, well, I'm going to spend $1 billion on an NHL franchise and not manage it. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to give it over to this guy.
You're telling me I spent $2 billion on this fun little toy and I don't get any say?
I'm not going to. I'm going to hire people for sure.
Well,
but
listen, Murray Edwards, I know you're cheap. Fire Brad Treliving and you do it.
I mean,